Hey, hey, hey. Wow. That was not quite how I thought that was going to play out. Sorry about that. Goodness. That was a rather fast two games. So, your opening hand of seven in game one, what did you have?
I'm not sure if it was correct to keep it. I had Island, Fetchland, Brainstorm, Jace, Mentor, uh, and probably like a blank of some sort.
I mean, it doesn't seem like a bad keep. I mean, at the very least, the basic land is nine times out of ten. I mean, well, significantly more than that. Good. Um, no, I hit a very good hand of six, as you could tell with the mulligan. The only issue with that hand really was whether or not I wanted to play the Lotus with you having the island up and knowing that you've got a spell burst in your deck, or look to strip mine straight out. Obviously, you're not going to know that I'm mana hosed at that point, but having spent potentially a Lotus and an Emerald, I was um, potentially going to be in a position where if the Lodestone did not resolve, you were going to be able to run roughshod over me. So, what about your hand in game two?
Lotus, Brainstorm, Jace, no limbs with like Jack, um, and uh, Time Walk, uh, Force of
I
Will,
mean,
and Spears.
yeah, again, that seems like a reasonable keep between the brainstorm and potentially getting an active Jace Vryn's Prodigy early on, just to try and find the mana that you need in order to set yourself up well for the rest of that game. So that was interesting. Restricted cards are restricted for a reason. So goodness. But no, I mean, at the very least, your deck looks very interesting. I think you're very well positioned to fight the blue decks in the field between the four main missteps, the Pyroblast in the main, and the Flusterstorm that you've got in the main. It's interesting. There doesn't really seem to be all that many Flusterstorms among the eight lists. So that was. It seems like that's gonna be very good for you moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was really badly set up for shops. I don't have a lot of sideboard cards, and um, like
Now you have to pick your battles, and I think overall, I mean, in this play-in tournament, I think that's the battle that you want to fight. You can't necessarily
yeah,
prepare
I
for.
just like thought there would probably not be a lot of shops because of Chalice getting restricted and stuff. I mean, I don't follow things very closely, and I think I just like hedged too far toward expecting other people to go toward a deck similar to mine.
Well,
Um,
again, I think that's totally fair. I was actually playtesting nothing but blue decks for the first 3.5 weeks or whatever it was. So it was actually just a last-minute decision to run shots. So if I had stayed true to form, you would have had a significantly better match. But again, you're well positioned to fight blue moving forward, and this is a predominantly blue field. So I think you've got a better match um, moving forward against opponents, especially quad um, misstep on Dark Ritual with Dark Petition being popular between Dave and Reed is interesting too.
yeah, I think that that should help in those matchups, but I'm not sure who I play next. But I mean, hopefully I can dodge Ochoa.
Right, right. I actually brought in Caracas for your Kataki too, which Kataki is an exceptionally powerful card, clearly in the shop match. So that would have been very interesting, and clearly I'm glad that you didn't see it. It was interesting too to see the Stony Silence. I mean, normally in the few games that I've had where an opponent has played Stony Silence against me, it's been exceptionally good and it's really hosed me. But I just got lucky in having the Academy in that instance to help power out the spells that I needed in order to get through having mana shut off and potentially not being able to produce the mana base that I need in order to win. You trapped two Moxen and you trapped a Sword of Fire and Ice with that Stony Silence. So that was actually it was strong. It wasn't enough on its own.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly felt terrible there, but I would expect it to generally be at least a little better than that. But it's hard when, I draw artifact mana and I'm behind on board. Um, I mean, it's just a card that's going to be like a lot better to play when I'm ahead, which I just, obviously wasn't in a position to do after you had the Triskelion.
Yeah, I punted a damage off of Triskelion too. I should have aimed that at you instead of the Jace again. So little misplays that thankfully.
No, if you aim it at me, then I get to plow it in response and flip Jace and keep Jace in play. I was actually
Oh
hoping that
goodness! All right.
like the reason I plow is or used the reason I used the plow was hoping that you'd fire the damage wrong and I'd get to keep a Jace Planeswalker.
Right. All right. So I can feel less foolish, is what you're saying. I can buck my chin up a little bit and not think that I made too many errors with stupid hands that shouldn't have any errors made.
Yeah, all right. It looks like we are maybe about to have a match here.
Yes. So this is actually really interesting because Roland Chang is the 2005 Vintage World Champion, and Roland won with 5C Workshops. Roland is actually the only Workshop World Champion, and historically Roland plays shops. Roland is one of the best Vintage Workshop players out there. He is phenomenal, and so to see him running a Pyromancer Delver list is a major departure from where he's usually at, but I know he's spent a lot of time working on this list, and he spent a lot of time playing Legacy Delver as well to try and get that tempo down. And it's fun too to see that Dave is on Storm combo, like a TPS variant, effectively, but just that Dark Petition Storm variant, which, because it's a new card, we haven't really seen much of. I play Vintage in the Northeast, and typically, while there are some combo pilots, we don't see a lot of combo, and so Dark Petition is something that I'm really excited to see because we just don't have it all that often.
Yeah, sorry, I'm distracted here. I'm struggling with trying to get sounds to work better on my end. I'm trying to turn off Skype making noise, which I don't really know how to do, and trying to get your volume adjusted against, I think, Athena's typing to the point where I can hear you without getting the typing too loud. So that's why I've been a little out of it.
That's right.
But I don't really know how to do any of what I need to do.
So it looks like the game has opened up. Okay. So what drew you into the format, Sam? What was your first Vintage deck?
I mean, I don't know what we're calling like a first Vintage deck. Like I played before there were formats.
All right, fair enough. So I guess the thing then, I guess, that drove you back to the arms of Black Lotus. Any deck in the last 10 years or so that you enjoyed playing, or
No, I mean, I
kind of
wouldn't
rekindled
really
interest?
say I'm into it currently. I'd say I'm trying it out for this. When it first came out on Magic Online, I tried messing around with like a fair Bazaar of Baghdad deck. That was like trying to use Bazaar of Baghdad just to cast like Circular Logic and Basking Root Wall and Arrogant Worm.
Right, the Blue-Green Madness lists. Yeah, there was
Yeah.
actually a good example of that won the Bazaar of Moxen 4 or 5 years ago. So it's still around. It's not great anymore, but it's still around.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly, it did some cool things, but mostly struggled then. And yeah, I don't know. I haven't really played Vintage since then. the card, I mean, the deck I'm playing now is just like, I think that Jason Mentor looked pretty fun.
They're
But
tremendous cards. They've been dominating vintage top eights for the last few months now. There are a few top eights that I've seen recently where it's just been half the top eight has been Gush Mentor, um, and it looks like we're ready to go down to the match.
sounds good.
Wow!
Start trading today at pukatrade.com.
Alrighty. So it looks like Dave's opened up on an interesting hand. He doesn't really have quite the mana generation that you would think he would want. And he does only have that one land, but Cabal Therapy does play an interesting role here, if only because between the Cabal Therapies, and I believe he's also running Duresses, no? Can theoretically really devastate an opposing hand.
Yeah, this looks like the kind of hand that, I mean, he could just go like land, Mox, Tutor for Lotus, Time Twister.
Oh goodness, you know what? I didn't even realize that was Time Twister. I have Mark Tadine's art burned into my head. There's the DT.
But I don't know that that's the line he will or should take, but that's just the first thing that jumps out to me as something that, you could do to goldfish this hand, basically. But I don't know if he's going to want to try to do something more interactive.
Roland also has therapies, so if he takes something that might seem like a more obvious line, we can't see Roland's hand at the moment, or at least I can't. But if Roland does have... Oh, there's a Force of Will. So now...
Roland's hand is Probe, Force of Will, Bolt, Earths.
Okay. So that's Brainstorm, Twister, Dark Petition, Cabal Therapy. Alright. Hope Dave doesn't get locked.
Yeah, I think that wasn't really that for Dave. Because now he's still... I mean, he still has the Brainstorm and Therapy cast, and he's only 1 mana away from Time Twister. And now Roland Chang doesn't have any more interaction, just Pyromancer. I mean, I guess he has Strip Mine, which can take Dave off blue mana. And I guess that's what's going to lead.
There's another Delta.
I think that's the right way to go. The Pyromancer is not representing real pressure by itself, and he has enough lands to cast his spells, so he just wants to see if he can cripple Dave before getting the little bit of a clock down. Drawing another land there was huge for Dave.
So it looks like Vamp Tutor, Underground Sea, and Library off the Brainstorm. So Dave does hit more mana and can reshuffle with the Vamp for some value there.
That all seems great. Wonder if he's going to try to get to a spot where he can work this Library or try to go for a faster kill. But I could see trying to set up Library either with Vamp Tutor for Ancestral or just trying to resolve Time Twister.
Yeah, Roland has no pressure right now, so if Dave feels the need to try and take his time, the Library route might be strong. And, he does potentially have that Twister as backup in case things turn in a direction that he's not comfortable with. So Dave is actually, Roland is playing, as we mentioned earlier, this Grixis Pyromancer list. One of the locals, Dave Kaplan, has been working on this for a while. Dave Kaplan's a good friend of mine, known him for a long time, and there are a few interesting things about Roland's list. Roland's actually running a Demonic Consultation, which is not something that you would typically see in a Delver deck. But the ability to quickly find a Gush, or a Force of Will was something that Roland felt was worth its inclusion. So it'd be interesting to see if that comes up.
All right, so Williams got rid of the therapy here, which makes sense because he, has no idea what to name with it, and the Dark Petition because he doesn't have enough mana for it, and he's, clearly on using the other cards since he's chosen to keep them. We might see an end of turn vamp here. I would expect at this point that he's probably going to get Lotus, but I could see trying to just get some kind of sticky mana, and then setting up a Time Twister with just more resources in play.
Right. I mean, if he's potentially able to, ooh, that's interesting. There's an
That's a good draw. That strongly incentivizes Dave to try to resolve this Time Twister as soon as possible.
Yep. Yep. And what does he go for? He's currently searching through his library. Yeah, just untap, library, Lotus, Twister. Let's see where we go.
I think it's that, or just do like a Mana Crypt, or does he have, or Soul Ring or something like that, and just try to have more mana long term. But I don't know if he wants to try to go for, a better grindy situation with the library, or if he wants to just do the most explosive thing he can.
Yeah, with rolling on 7 cards in hand. That's
Necro.
Oh wow, and there's a Necropotence.
Interesting. So he's not even going for the Time Twister. He's just getting Necro down. Which, I guess,
wow, and it resolves.
You're not under pressure and you can resolve it. That's drawing a lot more cards. And, Roland's going to have 7, so I guess disrupting his hand isn't that important.
Yeah, and it's not like he's really done. He didn't do a tremendous amount of damage to himself before the Necro hit, so this is going to be a fairly substantial Necro. It's not like he's on, single digits or even low teens.
But it's a dangerous line to take against the hand that Roland happens to have, where he has the 2 lightning bolts. I don't think that he's going to end up just getting bolted out, but it's a spot where it could potentially go that way.
Yeah, I have to keep Lightning Bolt in the back of your mind, I think, if you're Dave. Even, if you can't predict, you can't predict Double Bolt. But you can certainly have one in the back of your mind where you know that you want to stay a reasonable enough life total where you don't want to put yourself in jeopardy of, sack a fetch land, bolt you, you're dead.
Yeah, and it looks like Dave went maximally conservative with it. He just drew up to 7.
And that is powerful. So between the Duress and the Cabal Therapy, he can totally devastate Roland's hand with the full yard. He's guaranteed the extra mana off the Cabal Ritual into the Dark Petition, which he could then use to go for Will. Rinse, Wash, Repeat, Tutor Up, Tendrils in the near future, and just end this.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good line. Yeah, I think it's going to be hard for Roland at this point.
Yeah, he's certainly behind the 8 ball.
He needs to be able to brainstorm, and he needs to hit something good.
Right.
But even then, it's going to be hard for that to last through Duress Therapy.
Duress Therapy is brutal. It's brutal. Yeah, cards like Delver just ain't going to cut it right now. You need to be able to withstand that assault. I guess it's interesting. If you're Roland here, do you gush immediately to just try and hit Cabal Therapy or anything, another piece of counter magic, just knowing that you're behind, something that's sorcery speed, like the wall therapy, is something. It's potentially an answer now, but it's not going to be an
I mean,
answer
don't
on
you
day.
kind of need to get a clock down? Because otherwise, like, you're just going to get ground out by Necro.
That's true. That's true, but if we're talking about Roland's hand, if he resolves the Delver, so he left.
I mean, maybe you just can't go aggro against Necro either. So his line is just to pass, and maybe he's hoping to somehow steal this with the double bolts.
Yeah, and that's tough. So now, at that instance,
The misstep helps a lot here in terms of protecting against the discard. He can misstep duress, and then Williams won't know what to therapy.
that's true. But generally, with therapy, I mean, in Dave's position, wouldn't you just name whatever you're afraid of instead
Well, that
of
would probably
whatever
be
you,
forced. So that
right?
is a really good reason to keep the gush in hand, because Williams can name Force Will, and then after the therapy resolves, Roland can pick up the 2 lamps and gush and try to find one.
All right. There's the ball ritual. So if he goes ritual for dark petition for will, does he have? He made his land drop for the turn, right? He played library.
All right, so he is firing off therapy. So I don't think he's going for it this turn.
No, I don't think so either. He needed that mana. Maybe he's just trying to set up the dark petition for next turn.
I don't know how much I like Bolt in response here. It, like, I guess it's... Is there really a chance that he names Bolt?
I don't think so. I think, again, you name what you're afraid of. You don't name what you
Yeah.
think he's got. I mean, you could name Delver or Pyromancer, but they don't really matter. You care about Force of Will. You care potentially about Misstep.
Yeah. I think that was I mean, it's fine to fire off the Bolt there. It doesn't really cost you anything, but it certainly didn't seem necessary. And if anything, it, like, might tell Dave that, something about his hand at a time when you really don't want to be doing that.
So there's the Gush in response. I'm turning an Underground Sea and a Volcanic Island and getting a Pyromancer and an Island. Things are looking
Yeah, his
pretty
hand is
grim.
really bad at this point.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot that Roland's going to be able to do. If he draws a Force off the top, he still has a Delver as a blue card to pitch, but I do have to compliment Roland on his choice of islands, though, because clearly that Urza Saga Island is pretty nice. It's the little things in life, Sam.
Guessing we're just going to fire off a Twister here? I don't think
Okay.
getting bargain... Yeah. Yeah, put Roland up to a 7-card hand and then Twister away all his lands.
Do you like that? Giving your opponent a fresh hand of 7 when you know after the therapy that he doesn't have counter magic? Like you don't know 2 cards off the Gush, but you know the rest of his hand. So
the thing is, like, Williams is just so far ahead on board after Roland returns all of his lands, and now he gets to just ride library and, like, a board advantage. I don't know how, like, well positioned he is to just, like, play an attrition game, but he's, really, really well set up for it, just in terms of the board, ignoring, like, the libraries. But yeah, I don't know if he really needed to act there. Might be better to just put Lotus and play and Necro for some.
I think I would have tried to use the Twister as backup in case he did hit Force off the Gush, because now he's spent his Yard. He had lethal Yard with a Will, and
Right.
he had 1 turn, and he was able to set it up and just blow up on him. So now, he's got a Brainstorm, he's got a Dark Petition, he's got a Mind's Desire that he can't cast. That is a good brainstorm. That is a good brainstorm. Okay, so he sees
I guess
fall.
therapy.
He sees therapy, Hercules, DT. What do you DT for if you're him in this situation?
Well, he can't tutor this turn, right? He only has
He's
one
got a
win and he's already
miss.
played a land.
Yeah, he played library this turn earlier, I believe.
Right. So I think you just therapy and then next turn see where you're at.
That's fair. All right, so
And I
if you do
assume
play
you
that
therapy
there,
Delver so that he can't play a threat and strip mine you.
okay. Pretty sure those Hercules are going out post board. So because of the Necro, unless Dave pays life, he's not going to see those cards. Maybe that's why. There we go. It looks like we just finished resolving it. And there's the claw therapy.
Yeah, and he names Delver.
So Dave already has access to triple black at this point and double blue. So it's not as though that strip mine potentially even really pushes him back on mana, though he's seen so many cards at this
Yeah, I
point.
imagine that if you're going to use the strip, you have to go for the library. It's just you're not
Right.
going to cut him off with colors.
That's
But I
where
think I don't know if you can really just spend a turn here getting rid of the library. That seems really low impact. I think you have
Yeah,
to play the pyromancer and hope that Williams just like can't kill you and you get to like attack and maybe draw a lightning bolt.
or draw, time walk or gush into something or some business off the top. So have you played much combo in Vintage?
No, not a lot. So I think, yeah, this is interesting just in terms of, the thing that Williams is worried about at this point is getting locked out by his Necro. He can go up to a large enough hand that he can try to library his way out of it, but that's where strip mine really comes in. Because, he doesn't have, like, the tools to win at this point. Yeah, so he's going all the way down to 1.
Which does turn Bolt on clearly, but and the Twister high shift all four bolts
It also
back in.
turns off his Bloodstained Mire. But, alright. He does not have a lot of great tools to work with here. But he might be able to pull something together with Mana Crypt Tutor. I guess you can always, if you can get to 6, just go for a Lucky Mind's Desire. He can Mana Crypt Tutor for Lotus, Lotus Desire, and hope to hit something. Probably with
That's
a dress
fair,
in there.
but again, I keep coming back to the Dark Petition for Black Lotus instead of Yawgmoth's Will. Maybe I'm missing something, but just being able to play Will with a loaded yard, tutors ritual effects, and having Twister as backup in case it falls through. Now Dave's at 1 passing the turn, and this theoretically would have been the turn that he killed Roland, right?
Oh, you're saying like if he'd taken the other line earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that I'm not sure how it would have gone if he played differently then. But as far as what he should do now, do you think who do you think is winning this game at this point?
I think it's still favored for Dave, but he's put himself in a position where it seems like he's given Roland extra rope. And, if you have that position where you've got a hand chock full of cards, you know your opponent doesn't have counter magic, you know he's relatively light, why give him any extra breathing room? You want to knock him out as fast as possible. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. With the DT and the Mind's Desire, he does have business, clearly. But
Silver is a good draw. Now he can both attack Williams' mana and put him on a one-turn clock, guaranteed.
Yep. And Dave could have very well been counting on that library to try and help get him out of this position.
So on his turn, he's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So anything. So he can Crypt, Tutor, Lotus, Duress, Mind's Desire. I'm not sure if there's a way to work in Dark Petition also. You could probably Dark Petition for Ritual in there to get +2 Storm count.
Right.
That's like mana neutral, right?
Spend the DT, find the Ritual, play the Ritual, and then Dark Petition's the third sorcery. Make the 3. You're short on mana? I could be poor with math right now, but if he plays a land in his hand and he plays DT Ritual, that only leaves him access to 4. Oh, the Mana Crypt. I'm sorry, the Mana Crypt. Right, so he plays the Mana Crypt, and then in that instance he can leave a black floating.
Yeah, I think he can cast all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He could probably get the Hercules in there too. He can Hercules himself, and then replay the Jet and the Mana Crypt. I think he gets to fire off a really big Mind's Desire here. He can, instead of getting Dark Ritual, he can get. I don't know that he was supposed to get Lotus yet. I think the first tutor is supposed to get Mana Crypt, so the second can get Lotus, so you can end up with enough blue mana. But I could be wrong.
And it's interesting too. We didn't even remark on it, but Roland didn't aim the strip mine at the library. He aimed it at an Underground Sea.
Yeah, I think those end up being the same since Williams is constrained on mana rather than cards here. Which is not to say which one is, theoretically right. Just that I don't think it's going to matter in this spot.
Two, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I see. I was trying to go for the biggest possible Mind's Desire, but you can just skip that step and tutor for Tendrils.
That does seem like a clear path to
7,
victory.
Grass makes it 8, makes it 9, and he doesn't even need that much.
Storm. There we go. So that was a heck of a game 1. Oh no, wait, where are we? Will.
He's going for Will. It seems unnecessary. He knows Roland's hand because he drew and played the Delver.
Right. We play the DT. There's the Tendrils. That is exceptionally lethal. We go to game 2.
All right.
So post board, can we get one of the lists? There we go. I had spoken with Roland earlier, and one of his major concerns was defense grid. Now, typically in this match, you would not board in artifact destruction, just because generally it's not very good against Storm, but Defense Grid in particular is very, very tough. So Roland's going to need to ensure that Defense Grid stays off the board so that he can keep his missteps and his forces alive.
And I imagine he also wants the Null Rod just to shut down Dave's mana, since that's like about this. I mean, his sideboard doesn't have a lot of like dedicated hate, I guess.
No, though I'm not going to be shocked if he brings in ley lines to try and shut off the Yawgmoth's Will plan. It's something that historically you'd see vintage shop players bring in Tormod's Crypts to try and slow the Storm decks down a little bit, so we'll see.
Is he cutting Delver? It seems so strange. I guess you just don't have time to attack them?
I'm not really sure, though. I guess I could see how Delver's not quite as good in this match as it is in, say, something like the Workshop match, where sometimes you land it and they just flip it, and then you just die to it 7 turns later, regardless of the number of spheres on the board. And it does look like Roland brought in 3 Ingot Chewers. And here we go. So it looks like Dave opens up on a very mana-light hand, though he does
I don't
have...
think you can keep that. He has only Pearl, which can't cast rituals, and you can try to get lucky with Probe, but that seems really greedy. I think you just mulligan this.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Roland's hand looks great.
Yeah, Roland's got the Gitaxian Probe Cabal Therapy hand.
He has the Probe Therapy combo.
Yeah, so that'll be nice.
Yeah, and he's covering up a pretty fast cruise.
Yep. Yeah, between the Lotus, the Therapy, and the Probe, he's just about halfway there.
And Williams has to keep a really weak 6, where he has nothing but mana.
Chain of Vapor. Huh. So do you think... That's interesting.
Do you... Sand, like, do you even bother therapy in this hand?
Well, the one thing that I will say is the hand does make a lot of mana quickly. And the danger... Oh, with the misstep in hand, probably not. The one thing I was going to say was the danger of letting a Storm player have access to that much mana is that if they do hit, that one thing, whatever it is...
I mean, you could just drop Argon or something, obviously.
Right, and then the game is just over. So Roland's put in a position where does he want to try and constrain Dave's access to his mana?
I think if there's Cabal Ritual here, just to stop him from exploding, since you're not going to know what to name later anyway.
That's fair. Though the Cabal Ritual, I guess, is like the later play. You're playing for the mid-late game instead of hitting the Dark Ritual.
There he goes for Dark. Interesting. I figured you'd want your misstep to be live, but...
Oh, you know what? I hadn't even considered that, and that's an excellent point, so there you go. Yeah, the Cabal Ritual does seem like just the better play in that instance. See, so here we go. So Dave draws Dark Petition.
Roland draws Force of Will. Do you consult here?
What do you consult for, though? Pyromancer?
Block, I imagine, if you're going to do it. Like, you either hold the consult as a reactive spell, or you just try to get some kind of pressure going with it. Just, like, consult for Pyromancer or something, or Delver, just to start attacking. But I think that you have so much control at this point, you can certainly just hang back.
Yeah, I think I'd rather hang back because if I was going to consult for a threat, I would probably want to consult for Pyromancer. And oh, there we go. Roland wouldn't have been able to have cast the Pyromancer without sacrificing the Lotus.
We sacked the Lotus for blue, so I think he's just going for a cruise.
It looks that way. Just trying to fill his hand up.
Right, because he wants to have the Misstep and the Force of Will on, but he doesn't want to lose the cruise, because that's like all of his action at this point.
Right. But he does set himself back. If he doesn't hit a land, he does have control, but at the same time, he doesn't have access to red at the moment. He can't play Pyromancer. Delver is a threat, but it does give Dave a lot of time between flipping it and attacking for all those turns.
Yeah, I don't know, I'd be a little tempted to fire off the consultation in there.
Yeah, there we go.
But
double Pyromancer, no red. Yeah, it's tough. So at that point, you've got a consult for a volcanic island or a fetch land.
Seems likely.
And that ley line is a bit of a brick. But at the same time, is that Tendrils Dave drew?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Dave has the Dark Petition to potentially set him up, but he doesn't really have everything that he needs to get all the way there. And with a pretty empty yard, it's not like you can just go for a fast will.
Yeah, I mean, Dave has certainly drawn some tools to do things. Like before he was on Just Mana, and now he has, cards that can actually matter. So I can imagine him getting out of this at this point, which, I think Roland is less of a favorite than he looked before the cruise.
I agree with you. I don't know if sacrificing the Lotus for the cruise was optimal, but maybe that's just above my pay grade. And here's a preemptive.
I don't know that I like the Null Rod here, because he's putting himself down to 1 mana.
Well, you have to figure at this point, there's just no way that he doesn't consult for another land. He has to consult for another land.
Yeah.
You can't play the Null Rod, lose the Sapphire, and just not. So, and
the only I don't know that I like playing them like he could have consulted for the land that turn and played Pyromancer, and then played the Null Rod next turn.
Right.
I think that it might be worth, risking the one turn where Dave can get mana off the Mox to get a clock down, and then if Dave does go for it, you have the Force of Will, and you want the Pyromancer down before you have to cast that. But I think it's hard from what you've seen, Williams, to win this turn through Force of Will because of the Jet, which makes me pretty hesitant to play the Null Rod that turn.
Right, and Roland also effectively just has an option. He's got Misstep online or he has Force online, but he does not have both.
Yeah. Williams fires off Therapy here.
Do you Misstep?
On the one hand, you kind of have to because he's probably going to name Force. On the other hand, you kind of can't because it turns off your Force anyway. So I think you have to just let it resolve and let him name Force, and then you still have your Misstep as interaction. Plus, he might miss. Otherwise, you're just hoping to draw a blue card with no reason to believe that you will.
So again, not to keep bringing it up, but you could consult, I guess, for something else, but...
Yeah, but at that point, you're just not doing anything.
Right, you've got no pressure on the board, you don't have any means of interacting with his life total, and so you're just kind of...
And that's why I think that you needed to play the Pyromancer on the previous turn.
Right.
Oh, I forgot that Williams probed. But I I think that I might rather have just a misstep in my hand than just a forcible in my hand.
So there's Empty the Warrens, if I'm not mistaken. Which, right now, he doesn't have access to red.
Yeah, he can't get close to doing anything at that moment.
He has 1, 2, 3, 4 in yard. So, what could he do? Five, 6, 7. He could tap a C for blue, tap a C for black, play the jet.
I forget. Did Roland know Dave's hand? He did, right?
Yeah, he did.
That makes the null rod play seem even weirder, because Williams can just chain evaporate at end of turn before he's trying to go off whenever that's set up.
That's fair too. But alright, if Dave the previous turn had gone play the jet, tap a C for blue, tap a C for black, chain the Mox to generate storm, chain the null rod back to his hand. He's got 6 cards in yard, 7 off the chain, black floating, play the jet. No, he's still one short. He's still one short. He could play the jet, play the Cabal Ritual with Threshold, play the Dark Petition, find Lotus, but be 1 mana short of a very big empty. Which, you know, given Roland's board state, again, Roland would have a very tough time with, you would think, just because, you know, Pyromancer does generate all those tokens, but it takes time, and with the Null Rod, with what Roland's done with not having a lot on the board, that might not be time he's got.
All right, this delta looks really big.
Yes, it does.
Although with the Cabal Therapy gone, or the Cabal Ritual gone, I don't know that he can actually do anything here. Yeah, I think he has to just pass. No, if you're on, no, you still don't fire off the tutor or consultation.
So
right, I think I like consulting for red and playing Pyromancer to hold Delver for force while establishing a clock, but he does not seem interested in a clock. Is there a big trump that this consultation can be getting? Like, does he have a Flusterstorm that he's hoping to find?
I don't remember if he had Flusterstorm in his board. Let me check. I don't think he did. I think the consult is primarily going to be getting quote-unquote fair cards. I.e. Gush, Ancestral. But yeah,
maybe the consult is just trying to become another Forcer Will after this one gets discarded. I don't know what Roland's long-term plan is here.
He doesn't have a Flusterstorm between main and board, so stress. And it nailed the Force Will, clearly. So he still has Dark Petition, Chain of Vapor, Mox Jet. He can cast the Dark Petition He can cast the Dark Petition the following turn potentially, and again get Will and try and set up Will. Does he have enough business? I know he's got that Cabal Ritual to generate a bunch of mana. He's got the Chain of Vapor to play around with Mox Jet, generate a few extra storm there.
He can. I mean,
Double Delver. Well, that makes sense. He doesn't.
yeah, he's finally moving in on attacking.
Yeah.
So Williams could sack the land, chain the Null Rod, and then be able to jet into Dark Petition with the 3 mana up. And then he could get Yawgmoth's Will to be able to play a land from his graveyard, and then play Probe and Rituals and start going off.
That seems like the best route. He's still going to be able to play the Cabal Ritual with Threshold to generate 5 as well. If he does all that. So mana doesn't look like it's going to be a big problem. And given that Roland has now played his second blue card, he no longer has the option of Consult for Force and try and force the Dark Petition.
Yeah, I think that I don't understand not establishing pressure all this time and then playing the second Delver rather than just playing one Delver and holding up Consult for Force with the other Delver. But now that he's in this spot, I'm pretty sure Williams should chain the Null Rod and then either go for Yawgmoth's Will or Necropotence.
Yeah, that does seem like the strongest route. It doesn't look like this is going to last much longer, unfortunately, for Roland. Unfortunately for him, it didn't really work out with that Treasure Cruise. If he had had the access to the red mana instead, and maybe he slow rolls it instead. Looking back 2020, sure, but he would have been able to theoretically drop 2 Pyromancers on 1 turn, keep the Consult up, Consult for Force for whatever the big spell is, try to generate tokens, and in the meantime be attacking Dave's life total.
Yeah, he just took I don't know, his line here seems very strange to me because he was both not getting pressure down and just not doing productive things really. He just wasn't making the most of his cards. He was holding Demonic Consultation up and never using it, and it just ended up resulting in a lot of wasted mana in the long term.
Yeah. There's the chain on the Null Rod. And we're in Roland's end step. The year that Roland won Vintage Champs, I believe he lost round 1. And if there is anyone in the Vintage community that I know that has it in them to fight back from a tough position, albeit 0-1 at Champs or 0-1 here, it is Roland. He is an
Okay, good. You went for
excellent
Yawgmoth's Will. That's the line that I liked. So I
Yep.
think he might be able to just win this turn.
He has a ritual from way back, right? The Dark Ritual that
Yeah,
was...
yeah, it's the
right,
Dark
so-
Ritual they got discarded, therapy on the first, or duress or whatever on the first turn. Therapy.
Yeah, so he can ritual into Cabal Ritual, into all the mana, into
Another Dark Petition, potentially.
into more mana, into that Tendrils when it's
Yeah.
good and ready.
He needs to... If he's going to Dark Petition, he probably wants to do it while it still has Threshold, but it might be too late for that already. I think he fired off a probe that he needed to not fire off yet. Yeah, I think he was supposed to Dark Petition before casting that probe. Unless Dark Petition sees itself in the graveyard, no, it can't. Oh wait, no, it's Spell Mastery, it's not Threshold. Never mind. Yeah, he's all good.
Yeah, 6 and pool. Oh, buddy. This is not where Roland wanted to be. But again, certainly a great pilot who is more than capable of fighting back.
So the petition puts him down to 4 mana, which means he can't cast any more spells if he's trying to tendrils. I think he ends up needing to just go for Necro or something anyway, just with more value.
That would be disappointing after that big will to still need
I mean,
more.
like his original line was to either go for Will or for Necro, and this might, get him both. Like he gets the Necro in play with an extra land and some discard spells. But I don't know what else he can do in terms of like finding one card that wins from here because he just doesn't have enough mana to kill with tendrils, as far as I can tell.
So, if Roland draws a lightning bolt, flipping the Delvers, he potentially has 9 on Dave. How much are you comfortable necroing for?
I guess you probably try to leave yourself it enough to. Oh, so you're saying you just? I mean, Necro for 5.
We're
doesn't
talking
sound
about like the
terrible.
outlier situation. Like, it's a low percentage it's a low percentage play.
Oh wait, no,
Like
he can't cast Bolt if he reveals it. It would need to be like
yeah, he can
new
cast Bolt
spell
because he's
into
got a
Bolt.
consult for the land. So if he
Oh
flips
right,
Bolt, he flips the
yeah, you're right.
Delvers, he consults for right.
Oh, he goes for Lotus. He's just gonna try to ponder his way into something.
I am not a very good storm pilot, but this seems like this is a little bit more complicated than it needed to be.
Okay, so he pondered into Bargain.
Which he can cast. Um, we said there was a Soul Ring. Was there a Lotus in that as well?
No, he tutored
Right.
for the Lotus and used it to cast the Ponder.
Right.
So the Lotus is now exiled.
So if he plays the Bargain, he's lost his will, he's out of mana. And that's looking like that's where we're going. He played an Underground Sea this
Oh
turn,
wow, he
correct?
drew LED.
So if he plays the LED and he sacks it, he loses the rest of his hand, but he does get triple black back.
Which I think
And
is what he needs to do. I think he needs to just play LED, crack it, and then he can start drawing into rituals.
yeah, that's fair at that point because you're playing for the now. You're not playing for following turn. You can be more. You can gamble a little bit more with your life total than you would have if you knew that you were going to have to pass the turn back to Roland and then try and win on the following turn.
Oh wow, he's not using it.
There's a Lotus Petal. So if he hits a ritual, what are you even DT for at this point? The Lotus is spent. He's played his land.
Well, can he? If he hits ritual, can he do the like play LED, play ritual, response to or play tutor, response to tutor, sack LED, and then get enough mana to tendrils?
Yeah, he could do that. That's a valid one. We have a vamp
You can
too.
also vamp for same effect, but it costs him a lot of cards. Yeah, so he could just pedal, vamp, and then LED, and then sack the LED and draw tendrils that he vamped for, and then try to hit one more mana in the next, like, I guess he'd only have 3 more draws at that point, so I guess it's too risky.
7-5. What are we doing here? Oh, we're drawing more cards.
These are not good ones. Duress, Necro, and Wheel of Fortune don't really get him anywhere.
And he's all in at this point. Because now we're at that point in the life total where if he doesn't win,
Where he's just going to die to Delver.
It's over. What a game this has been. Where's Vinny Farino or Steve Menendian to do storm commentary when you need them? Us lowly shop pilots. Good lord.
I think that Williams was supposed to go for the LED line. Like, I think that was his most recent fork that I would like to have seen going the other way on. But a lot of the other stuff he's done has worked out potentially. So I don't know that. I'm certainly not confident that using the Tutor LED line is better.
Do you feel like the lines have been a little bit more complicated?
Oh, sorry, no, it wasn't Tutor LED. He never had the mana for that. It was just LED, and then
Lotus
exile
Cabal.
your hand and draw new stuff.
So he has a Cabal ritual, but that's not going to help him. He needs a Dark ritual right now, and he's down to 2.
I found Mana Crypt, which is a way to get colorless mana, but that's not going to do him any good. Or Mana Vault, rather. I think he's dead.
I'm having a tough time seeing how this ends with Theo on top. There's the last life point.
And Probe, which doesn't do anything.
Yep.
Some stuff in play. I don't think the stuff helps. Wait, does he have a Brainstorm in his graveyard? Can he sack the LED and then cast that Brainstorm and try to spike something?
He does have a Brainstorm in yard. Yeah, you're right. He could Chain of Vapor. If he sacks the LED for blue, he can Chain of Vapor the Mox Jet back to generate black again.
Okay.
Which would potentially let him do what? Does he have?
Well, his hand all goes away when he sacks the.
Right. I'm looking at his yard, and there's just therapies. So he sacks the pedal to play Gataxian Probe.
That has to be worse than playing Brainstorm, right?
It kind of does seem that way. His Dark Petition with nothing but blue in his pool.
Brainstorm. And he's a mana short of playing the Twister.
Wow. This is how this ends. This is not at all how this game feels like it should have ended. He did play an Underground Sea this turn. Like, No, but it's even still, it's a delta in his yard, isn't it? You know. So we changed the mocks. He has access to black again.
Oh, is he going to bounce the Delvers to try to buy a turn?
It looks like he bounced the bargain back to his hand and then scooped.
No, he's...
That was weird.
Yeah. I mean, his last turn, he obviously had a lot of options. Hard to say if there was another line that definitely would... I mean, there wasn't another line that definitely wins, and it's very hard to know, at least for me, whether he took the line that had the highest probability of winning.
Oh, we're so far down that line with all the individual lines that we took. It's you got to go way back to figure out where it could have gone differently.
Yeah, I think the point that I most disagree with was drawing extra cards before using the LED. I think his hand at that point just wasn't that valuable, and it's better to just get mana and start going again.
So you'd also mentioned when he played the Gitaxian Probe that you felt that was incorrect, and as we know, he had the Brainstorm in yard at that point. Do you remember what your line was with that?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you there.
So when he played the Gitaxian Probe, you disagreed with him, and he still had the Brainstorm in his yard at that point. But I don't specifically remember what the potential line was. Do you remember what the line that you were considering with the Gitaxian Probe?
Oh, I think it was mostly too late at that point, but he just sees more cards earlier by playing the Brainstorm than the LED with his last blue mana. So it seems like it's probably better to Brainstorm, but I think that it had kind of gone off the rails already at that point.
So it looks like Roland is still playing around. Maybe not quite so comfortable after these past two games with how his main has felt, especially post board. Definitely looked like Dave had him on the ropes. So I understand going back and spending some extra time on the sideboard. Looks like he cut a gush. But he did leave the fourth ingot short in there, and
I think it's Cajun. Alright, so William's hand looks great at a glance, but it does not match up well against double misstep.
But if you're Roland, do you step this probe?
It's going to be interesting to see where these probes go, because this is a high variance hand.
Yeah. Would you misstep that probe?
No idea if you're supposed to misstep a probe. Oh, I didn't see that he has an Ancestral in his hand. That's the card furthest to the left.
Did he just...
That makes that hand seem a lot better. Given Ancestral in the hand, I don't